Seemingly every day, we see another story about people blaming capitalism for climate change and using climate change as justification for socialism. We're going to talk about that on this episode of Stopping Socialism TV. But before we do, I have to do my little spiel here, asking you to hit that like button, share this video, subscribe to our Stopping Socialism TV channel. Google and Facebook and YouTube, they're not doing us any favors. They would rather you not see content like this. So you could help break through the filters if you just do those couple of things. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, share, and like. Justin, climate hysteria, justification for 21st century socialism. Am I going too far here?
No, you're not going too far. It is obviously.
You're not going far enough.
Yeah, you're not going far enough. You're not going far enough, Donald. Look, here's the thing. If the Green New Deal had never happened, then I would say that all this would still be true. This statement would still be true, but it would be harder to prove. The gift of the Green New Deal is that they put it all right out in front and they said, you know what? We want socialism. And we're just saying it. We're coming out of the closet, everybody. We want socialism. Yeah. That's what the Green New Deal was. And it's necessary to save the planet, you know, but also we want all these socialist programs that have nothing to do with saving the planet. We want them too. And it all needs to be together. Why? We don't know, but we just know it has to be. And that was the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal makes no sense unless the real goal is socialism. Then it makes perfect sense. Otherwise, it makes no sense, because if the world is on the brink of catastrophe and humans are facing an existential threat, that means we're all going to die. If humanity was on the verge of being wiped out, why would I care if there's universal access to healthy foods or, a free college tuition? Guess what? My college debt cancellation is irrelevant if I'm going to die in 10 years. Doesn't matter, because all the debt gets wiped out by climate change too, just along with me. When I die, my debt goes with me. So it doesn't matter. So it's like this whole idea makes no sense unless the real goal is socialism too.
Yeah, and that was like explicitly stated, right? Because this was something that we kind of theorized on. Why would you waste a minute or a dollar on anything else if you're on the left and you're worrying about the imminent apocalypse, right? And so then when the Green New Deal came out, it's just like, well, why are you saddling all of this stuff that's supposed to save the planet with this stuff that has nothing to do with saving the planet? As great as free healthcare could theoretically be, why would you bog down this world-saving legislation with something like that? So it was something that we've always kind of speculated on until AOC's chief of staff, I could be misremembering the position.
He was the chief of staff. Yep.
Chief of staff came out and said,
I think, yeah. This
is like months later after the legislation got like just absolutely destroyed, like by people like Justin over here. But he came out and said, did you think that the Green New Deal was about the environment? No, it was more about changing the entire economy. So it was just like, oh, okay, well, there you go. Thank you for, confirming our speculation. It was probably the most blatant point. But I mean, we can go back more into history to kind of prove this point as well, or at least show how we came about this point. So what I've got in front of me is a little section that is in Glenn Beck's newest book, Arguing with Socialists, a book that Justin and I were contributors to. So this is a little subsection called Anti-Capitalist New Boogeyman. So it says, socialists banked on the shortcomings of capitalism to spur support for their concept of centrally controlled society. However, the mass starvation events and the naked exploitation of workers never came to fruition as socialists predicted. So just stopping right there, this idea that the socialists back in like the Karl Marx days, and Justin, you could probably elaborate on this more than I can, but Karl Marx, they predicted that if we kept going down this path of capitalism, then we're going to, get to a point where just workers are being paid crumbs and it's going to get so terrible. People are going to starve to death. Like, this is a nightmare. And it just never came to fruition. All of their predictions of all this terrible stuff that's going to come along with capitalism never happened. So, and this is explicitly stated to continue on with this by the socialist historian Eric Hobsbawm, who said that all the problems which had haunted capitalism in its era of catastrophe appear to dissolve and to disappear. So, like, okay, yeah, it turns out people aren't starving to death, and people's standard of living is increasing. So what are we going to do? How are we going to convince people that capitalism is bad? Oh, I get it. We could just switch to global warming. If we keep doing this capitalism thing, it's going to destroy the planet. And that's kind of what we've been dealing with the past, 30 years, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about it too, the thing that makes that so appealing is not just that they ran out, that the socialism thing became less and less believable, or the anti-capitalism thing became less and less believable as capitalism continued to improve and all these other countries that had moved more towards socialism declined. It became so obvious that capitalism was better. They couldn't like, what are they going to say? Like, obviously It's better. Nobody in America in 1985 was banging down the door to go live in the Soviet Union or communist China. Like, nobody wanted to do that. Right. So the idea is, the idea that you can continue going back to the anti-capitalism well forever was just, there's no question that was part of it. But the other part of it too is the climate crisis is great because it's always in the future. So you never have to actually be held accountable for your false predictions, because you can always make more predictions, and you can always say, well, we just got a little bit, just a little off. It was a little wrong. It's coming in the future. It's really more similar to the people who are always predicting the end of the world, like these religious cults and stuff that are always like, well, the end of the world it's coming. I've got the Bible code, and the Bible code tells me it's the end of the world is coming on May 23rd, 2012. Then May 23rd, 2012 comes, the world doesn't end, and it's like, nope, got it wrong a little bit.
I forgot to carry the one. It's
exactly. It's actually 2022. And so it's like that kind of thing, and I don't mean to demean people's religious beliefs or anything like that, but that kind of thing where it's like, you don't actually ever have to, if you're wrong, you just move the date back, and you just keep moving the date back, and you keep moving the date back. And that's not, I'm not making it up. I'm not saying this is what could happen if they're wrong. I'm saying this is what they've done. They've been wrong already, like 1 million times. They've been predicting the end of the world for like a half century. They've been predicting all sorts of chaotic things. And we've got all sorts of news clippings and headlines and doom and gloom predictions going back to the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, literally every single decade going back for years and years and years, for 2 generations. You can find predictions and they're always wrong. Top people, not some crazy loon, Stanford scientists, NASA scientists, United Nations, all these, the Pentagon, all these people predicting that the world is about to end from climate change, sometimes global cooling, not even global warming, 20 years in the future, 30 years, 40 years. And then that time came and it didn't happen. And now they just keep moving it back. It's 10, 20, 30 years into the future, always. And as long as you can find scientists willing to say, yeah, this is going to happen in 20 years, people will believe it if the media continues to bang that drum. And that's exactly what's happened with climate change. Even though there's all these other scientists who say that's not going to happen, they just ignore those people. They pick the scientists that fit their political ideology, and they run with that over and over and over again. And the same people, because a lot of these scientists making these predictions now are the same people making the predictions 30 years ago that were wrong 30 years ago. And now they're just making new predictions. And they never have to live up to the fact that they've failed to make accurate predictions.
Yeah. And could you, you couldn't even make up a better justification for overhauling the economy and to undermine capitalism and to invoke some type of central control or anything like that, some collective control. You can't come up with something better than climate change. No. Like, if the world is legitimately coming to an end because of people's just like haphazard use of resources or all of that stuff, then of course you have to do something, right? So we have to do socialism. And I think that's what they've been obviously trying to do for the last couple of decades. And, they've luckily have failed for the most part on most accounts. But I think like what we've seen in 2020 should kind of put a little bit of fright in the people that are watching this channel with like the whole COVID thing, right? So COVID came in, everyone is totally freaked out, and they use that as justification to basically do whatever they want. You've got these governors in these states across the country that are locking down arbitrarily, like your constitutional rights be gone. Like we have a crisis that we have to deal with. And now the thing with COVID is that we theoretically have an endpoint, right? It's the election. Or if we have a vaccine, right? So all of that can go away. There's no longer any justification if we just have the solution. With climate change, there is no vaccine for it. Even if they were to get everything they want and we were to have nothing but wind and solar as our energy sources like that, it still wouldn't slow down climate change. So they could still use this as justification forever. No matter how much control they get, no matter how much of the way that they get, they can still use climate change as their justification to push further and further into centrally controlled government-run industries as long as people don't stop them.
Right.
It's pretty amazing.
It is amazing. It's amazing. And it's not going to stop. No. It's going to continue on and on and on. And actually, it's sort of like at some point they've digged themselves into a hole that's so deep that they really can't get out of it unless they find a new crisis, that allows everyone to shift their focus over to someplace else, or they win. Yeah. Basically, that's it. Those are the only two possible ways, because every other way would make them look so bad. Can you imagine if they actually came out and they said, you know what? This whole like existential crisis thing. Yeah, we were wrong.
We're wrong. Sorry.
Sorry, guys. The whole like world overhauling the whole world economy and, wanting to, tear down the existing energy jobs and the whole energy system, destroying millions and millions of jobs, killing whole industries, killing whole towns, killing whole state economies. Yeah, we were wrong. You win some, you lose some. We lost that one. Sorry. Oh, well, like they can't do that. It's too catastrophic. No one would ever believe them ever again about anything, especially in our generation and the generation immediately before us, because these people have been hearing it for really people who are in their 50s right now and 60s. I think they're the ones who are, I should say 40s and 50s. Those people 30 years from, if they said that today, these people have been living it for like 30 straight years. They've been living it nonstop. They've been hearing this. And if you told them all of a sudden, you know what, the past 30 years we were wrong, for the next 30 or 40 years, they are not going to believe anything you say. And our generation, same thing. It has to be the only hope. They would lose like 2 whole generations of people. They can't do it. They are so deep in the hole. They have to keep going.
Yeah, no doubt. And, like if you follow our channel or follow us on stoppingsocialism.com, you'll know that we talk about the Great Reset, which we'll probably have another standalone video about that coming out pretty soon, if it's not out already. But yeah, the Great Reset is a World Economic Forum plan to overhaul the economy, turn it into a 21st century socialism. And they really started talking about it using COVID. But if you look at their website, their long-term justification for this overhaul is climate change. Like we're not reading between the lines here. Like this is what they're saying. So yeah, like climate hysteria is the justification for 21st century socialism. We just have to push back against the alarmism and, keep explaining why socialism is terrible. Justin, is there any last words you want to say on this topic before we sign off for the day?
Nope.
Fantastic. All right, everyone. If you want to see more content like this, you can go to our YouTube channel if you're not there already, Stopping Socialism TV. You can go to our website, stoppingsocialism.com. You could also find us on pretty much all social media, on Facebook, Stopping Socialism. We also have an Instagram account. We have a Socialist Twitter account, and we're also on Parler. Justin, where can the fine people find you?
At Justin T. Haskins on Facebook and Socialist Twitter.
Thank you all for listening. We'll talk to you later.